is a clay project, and I have 3 samples, and unfortunately, I went into the clay, and I got some super old clay, and so 2 of my 3 have little breaks in them, and I don't think if we used newer, better clay, it would happen this way. But this is, my husband did this.
Cool.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's just calling. So, this is the one that didn't break. And I will also say, this is the difference between a mom and a dad, sorry Lee, and sorry, but, to you gentlemen. But he was really focused on this and not really focused on the kids doing their thing, so I think that's part of the reason some of them broke. Basically, what you're gonna do with this is take clay and make an oval or oblong shape, and then pull the body parts out from that. When you are applying to, building up, there's a much greater likelihood that that piece is gonna fall off, and I'll show you exactly what I mean when I pull out the next one. So this is one I'm glad Noah is no longer in the room, because I don't think he knows it broke yet. But this was a super cool skier. It's no longer a super cool skier. The instructions say to do a human form in movement. My personal perspective is it would be a more powerful lesson to talk about the notion of being inspired by a story, like Simon Toporowski was with the notion of Icarus. You know, there are lots and lots of great kids' stories, Harry Potter or Corduroy the Bear, you know, just run the gamut. But a story that has inspired the kids, it may give them a little bit more idea, because the notion of a human form in action is super broad to a kid. But the idea of take your favorite story and what does something that your favorite character in that story do, that may be a better idea. But again, so Noah pulled these pieces off and then reapplied them, and that's why they're falling off. So the thing that's important about it is everybody gets a piece of clay, everybody rounds up their piece of clay into an oblong shape, and then starts pulling from that, so that it's one piece without applied components. That would, I think, be more effective. And I, just in deference to my eldest child, I'll show you Reed's too, because I'm sure that I'll be in therapy if I don't. So the other thing, so Reed made a surprise lacrosse player. And the other thing to bear in mind is that this won't stand up. So when you're looking at how are you going to display these, this would, I would say, be an ideal application for a tongue depressor behind as an armature to help it stand up. But again, his lacrosse stick broke. So
These haven't been fired, right, Leslie?
these have not been fired, and if you choose to fire them, the school has a kiln. I'm happy to help you use the kiln. I know how to use the kiln. And the kiln will make them much, much stronger. Yeah.
But there won't be glaze, I mean, this is, the
This is
clay
not glaze,
color
but if
is.
you take this clay and you fire it, it comes out white. So it's much more like the concrete sculptures that you looked at, much more like those.
But if we're doing, if we're gonna fire them, I was thinking about the bulk of them. I mean, you guys stretched those out really pretty well, but through the torso, I mean, you're not.
You know, whenever you fire something, you run the risk of it exploding if it has an air bubble in it. I mean, I would decide ahead of time, am I going to choose to fire these? If I am, I'm gonna talk about how to make sure that it doesn't, but again, firing is easier if you're just pulling from rather than adding to.
I would do a lot of.
That's really a personal, yeah, that's really a personal art literacy decision. If you choose to fire them, they will be much stronger. The kiln really is great at the school, and it's kind of fun to use, honestly. I mean, I really like using it. And again, I think it's a great project, because I think this is what children in their minds think of as sculpture. I think this is a more what kids think of as sculpture. And honestly, I do think my kids were slightly distracted when they were working on these. In fact, I know they were distracted when they were working on these. So,
What about
okay.
like an air dry clay?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of expensive.
like Fimo
Fimo?
or Sculpey.
Well, you can get those buckets of
Yeah.
air dry, and you can get it in terracotta color. We use it for Vacation Bible School and pinch pots and so forth.
They've used it in classrooms, yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen that. So.
Air
Oh,
dry
they
stuff,
sell it
yeah.
at Michael's, but you
Yeah.
know, I'm sure you
That's
can
probably
get
a good
it
idea.
cheaper
That might be a
than
better
that.
option,
Yeah.
just get the air dry stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
because then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And the problem, you know, because I haven't done much clay work, and I know it's hard to make sure that it comes out right if you're not someone who's very well versed in it. If we're trying to take the kids through these projects and not have them disappointed.
I think the idea of air dry clay is fabulous. I would
Yeah,
have
that's a
gotten
great
some
idea.
had I known how much.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
broken across.
I did it for lots of people. We just brought it in.
So we have to decide ahead of time whether we're gonna do the clay or.
You need to
Yeah,
decide
yeah,
ahead of
yeah.
I can,
time.
okay, so then we
Yeah.
just.
You just mark it on.
There's a form that each of you has,
Okay.
and that'll help Stephanie and Michelle get materials accordingly and how much that. So what questions can I answer before, American Idol starts? I don't have TiVo, I love you all. I don't have TiVo. So,
I've used toothpicks before to hold joints in, and that can sometimes help. So, like if you add to those, sometimes the parts will pull and then you still get a gap, but you can
Yeah.
compress those parts together.
well, if you're not firing it, I think toothpicks would be great. I think if you fire it, those are gonna burn up and be like Icarus.
You get your air pockets.
Yeah, I like the air dry clay idea. In case I wasn't clear about how I felt about it. So, other questions? Yes.
How do we display the sculptures? Especially if they're large. So we aren't gonna be doing a board with some kind of.
Neither of these projects lend themselves to display.
When we did sculpture before, we took a picture and
Yes.
mounted that on
Oh,
the
yeah.
board.
Thank you, we did, that's what we do with Frank.
Yeah, Frank is.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can take a digital image and put that up, you're right, thank you.
Kids putting names on their art.
Other questions? Comments, thoughts?
We just want to.
A comment, the joy of having this stuff in your hands and doing something with it
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
Infectious.
Yeah, I'm the mother of boys, and I will tell you, boys love three-dimensional art. I don't know about girls because I don't have any, but I will tell you, both of my children, the opportunity to do three-dimensional art is so exciting for them, with certain notable exceptions. But my kids love to do anything three-dimensional. I look at Beth, because Beth's my former neighbor, and Beth has done more sculptural art with my children.
Lots of female play.
Lots of female clay on a rainy day. So I do think that this is a type of art that's real different, real interesting, and I agree with you. I think it is great, so. All right, so now.
Yeah.